Hello friends, welcome to daily Editorial Enrichment program brought to you by La Excellence R&D team. Today we will discuss important articles that has been appeared in the newspaper The Hindu dated 14th December 2019. In this page we have provided the index with the article name with respect to its page number. First article is Savings with a Bonus Financial Peace of Mind. This article talks about the post office scheme with the predictable income returns. And then the second article reads Twin Troubles. This article is written in relation to IIP, that is Index of Industrial Production. And then the third article is Target Missed, Accessible India Campaign's Deadline Extended. And this article is related to Accessible India Campaign. And then fourth article is Assembly unanimously passes Andhra Pradesh Disha Act. This article is related to Disha Act recently passed in Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. And then the fifth article is Center in talks with Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on special status. And let us discuss about special category status and what is the difference from prelims and the mains perspective. And then finally we will see yesterday's prelims practice questions, and today also I will provide 3 prelims practice questions for the practice. Moving on to the first article, in the page number 10 we have Savings with a Bonus, Financial Peace of Mind. The government can ensure that Indian savers have access to simple fixed return products offering safety of capital. This is the subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS3, that is Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. In this article, the author says that the confidence of the ordinary citizen in guaranteed return products in India is decreasing. Firstly, there is a fear that public sector banks will be placed under the prompt corrective action by the Reserve Bank of India, that is bringing banks under the strict eyes of the RBI and losing its independence to RBI. And then another issue is defaults by AAA rated non-banks. And also recently we saw RBI's strict eyes on Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank Limited, which have opened now the can of worms on the safety of cooperative banks. Moving further, author says that Indian savers will always complain about the lack of safe investments, and when it comes to investment, here one has to be very careful provided the market risks involved. So in order to avoid this, people will embark on mutual funds, and this advice may be very appropriate when it comes to urban savers, but it is quite impossible for a majority of households in India which have a subsistence level of income and a scant access to financial literacy. And then in the financial year 2019, the average Indian earned a per capita income of rupees 1.26 lakh. And then a global wealth report from Credit Suisse, that is in October 2019, found that the median wealth of an Indian adult was rupees 2.1 lakh. And a survey on financial literacy among the Indian savers by the Tarun Ramdurai committee in 2015 has found that over 30% of the savers have no knowledge on the concept of compound interest. So this highlights the crying need for the Indian savers to have the access to simple fixed return products which would offer complete safety of capital without their having to dig into the balance sheets. So for this, the author says the small savings schemes, that is national savings schemes from India, will fit into this description. Then moving further, the author says that in order to park the long-term money, Indian savers have always felt a need for 10-year or 20-year fixed return instruments. But presently, we don't have that option. We are limited to only 1 to 5 year bucket. So, author gives the suggestion that reintroducing these national savings certificates for 10, 15, 20 years tenures can meet this need while helping the central government source long-term funds for capital spending. And then moving further, author speaks about the friendlier tax breaks. That is, today most post office schemes offer tax breaks on the principal invested amount under section 80C of the Income Tax Act. But giving this tax cut based on the slab rate have a very limited utility, because for savers whose income levels are very likely to be at or below the lowest tax slab, then they will have very limited benefits. So if the central government goes for the friendlier tax breaks, then surely it will attract the more investors. Then the small savers like the predictability of a fixed return for the long term, but given the limited savings, they like to exit the options in case of any emergency. So the lenient mechanisms in the small savings schemes is necessary. Then finally the author opinions that despite the safety and reasonable returns provided by the post office schemes, still people shy away from these post office schemes. And then insisting on paper application process, old-fashioned passbook, check payments and branch visits drives away the customer because this process is time consuming. And also now presently India Post has been transitioning its record keeping and backing operations with the digital mode. And on this aspect, this organization can take learnings from the HDFC or Sundaram Finance who make deposit investing such a seamless experience for the customers. Then finally, author ends this article with a positive note saying that if India Post can shed its half-hearted attempts to transform itself into a payments bank and convert itself into a digitally enabled, then it can render a yeoman service both to the government and small savers of this country. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 10, we have twin troubles. Low growth and high inflation raise questions about the root cause of the crisis. This is the subheading and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS3, that is Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. We know that in the last 3 months have been testing times for the Indian economy. Inflation has shot up and growth has dipped into negative territory. And the latest retail inflation number for November and the IAP for October has also added pain to this. And the author in this article talks about the IAP and the CPI inflation which were announced on December 12th, and he says that both are disappointing. CPI inflation touched a 40-month high of 5.54% for the month of November. And at the same time, the index of industrial production for October 2019 remained in negative territory for the third consecutive month, and IAP at minus 3.8% for October is not just disappointing but also marks the third successive negative IAP growth. Officially, this is an industrial slowdown, although the government may not have called it so. And the gravity of the problem is evident from the fact that 18 out of the 23 sectors considered in this analysis have shown that they are experiencing negative growth. And during the month of October, mining was down to minus 8%, manufacturing was down to minus 2.1%, and electricity generation was down to minus 12.2%. Manufacturing with the highest percentage had the most gravitational impact on the IAP. And if you see the first chart, inflation at 5.54% means that real interest rate in India has fallen from 4.62% in the month of October. And then author says that for November 2019, the big driver for CPI inflation was food prices. Food inflation for November came in at 8.66%, and it is largely driven by vegetable inflation at an unprecedented 36%. And clearly, onions appear to have taken its toll on the food basket, and that could taper with recent imports from Turkey and Afghanistan, and it's likely to improve, and this situation likely to improve, and at the same time the supply situation may improve in India. And this core inflation has touched the bad phase, and this could change rapidly if even oil price also continue to remain at the elevated levels in the global market. Then author says that low growth combined with a high price inflation is sure to cause further headaches for the policymakers, and then economic growth has declined for 6 consecutive quarters now, so making it one of the lowest downturns in recent history. Then let us see what are the likely implications of high inflation and weak growth. The RBI has already told and suggested to the government that to cut the rates on small savings, and doing so, that is cutting rates on small savings, will allow the banks the leeway to cut rates on deposits and then pass on the same to the borrowers. And then we know that with 3 successive months of the negative growth, it is officially a manufacturing slowdown, and the RBI has downsized the full year GDP growth to 5%. So the government has to concentrate on manufacturing sector. Then moving further, the author says that the government used to put blame on the RBI before for the degrading Indian economy status, because previously the government used to complain on the tight monetary policies that is adopted by the RBI under its previous governors. But cutting the interest rate for the 5th consecutive time, the government can no longer shift the blame onto the RBI. Then author says that government can use its favorite defense, that is the growth is merely a cyclical one, and author makes the allegation that the government, that is central government, has failed to bring the structural reforms to the economy. Then he says except for the rate cut in corporate tax, the government has not done anything to improve our economy. And if the RBI opts to cut the rates aggressively, then it will only add to the government's troubles by stoking inflation in the wider economy. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 9, we have targets missed, Accessible India campaigns deadline extended, and it aims at making public spaces friendly for the disabled. This is a subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is welfare schemes for the vulnerable sections of the population by the center and states, and the performance of the schemes, mechanisms, laws, institutions and bodies constitute for the protection and betterment of these vulnerable sections. Before getting into the newspaper article, first let us understand some basics about Access India campaign. Accessible India campaign is a nationwide flagship campaign of the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, and this department works under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Then moving on to the main aim or the objective of this campaign is to make a barrier-free and conducive environment for the Divyangjans all over the country. And the campaign has the vision to give them a productive, safe and dignified lives by building an inclusive society in which equal opportunities are provided for the growth and development. Then this campaign has been divided into three verticals for creating universal accessibility for persons with disabilities, and the first one is being building environment, then transport to ease their life, and then information and communication technology ecosystem. The government has launched the Accessible India campaign, and I forgot to mention, and this is also called Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, and this seeks to maintain at least 50% of all government buildings in the national capital and all the state capitals fully accessible for the disabled by December 2018. This was the target then, and similar deadlines have been set to make airports and railway stations accessible to the disabled. And then the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities has asked the various state governments to identify about 50 to 100 public buildings in big cities, and also to identify citizen-centric public website which, if made fully accessible, then it would have the highest impact on the lives of the person with disabilities. And once identified, access audit of these buildings will take place, and the target which is set by the government is that the audit should be conducted within the end of this year. And the third target says if the 50% of the government buildings and making them fully accessible in 10 most important cities or the towns of states not covered, that is which is mentioned in the first and the second target, then it should be completed within the timeline of December 2019. And then another important fact we have to note is that India is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, that is UNCRPD. And Article 9 of the UNCRPD casts an obligation on all the signatory governments to take appropriate measures, such as persons with disabilities to provide them an access on an equal basis with others to the physical environment, to the transportation, to information and communications, including information and communications technology and systems, and to many other facilities. Moving further, the governments of ESCAP region, that is United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, had gathered in Incheon, that is in Republic of Korea, in the year 2012 and adopted the Incheon strategy to make the rights real for persons with disabilities in Asia and the Pacific. Then, in India, persons with disabilities, equal opportunities, protection of rights and full participation Act 1995. Under this Act, Section 44, 45, 46 also provides for the non-discrimination in participation and non-discrimination of the roads and built-up environment for the disabled. And as per the Section 46 of the PWD Act, the states are required to provide for the ramps in public buildings, provision of toilets for the wheelchair users, and braille symbols and auditory signals in elevators or the lifts, and also ramps in hospitals, primary health centers, and other rehabilitation centers also. And also, while writing the mains answer for these questions related to disabled people, remember always mentioning of the Article 41 of the Directive Principles of the State Policy, and which states that states shall make effective provision for securing right to work, to education, and to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement within the limits of its economic capacity and development. And also another thing we can include is that the subject of relief of the disabled and the employable is specified in state list of the 7th schedule of the Constitution. And mentioning of these two facts will enrich in your answers. Now, coming back to the newspaper article, in this article they have mentioned that due to slow progress, they have revisited the deadlines and it has been changed to or extended to March 2020. Before, it was December 2019 and they have extended it to March 2020. and this decision was taken by the Central Advisory Board chaired by Social Justice and Empowerment Minister. And so far, there are 211 buildings, CPWD buildings, that is Central Public Works Department buildings, have been made accessible for the disabled. And the ministry has also said that total of rupees 354.5 crore rupees has been released for making 1058 public buildings accessible around the country. And under the Rights of PWD Act 2016, they are given 5 years to comply with the guidelines to enable all the existing and new public buildings for the disabled. Moving on to the next article, in the page number 8, we have Assembly unanimously passes Andhra Pradesh Disha Act. This topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of the design and implementation. The Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly has passed the Andhra Pradesh Disha Act 2019, that is Andhra Pradesh Criminal Law Amendment Act of 2019. And this law is passed a little over 2 weeks after a young woman's gang rape and killing happened in Telangana, and the law has been dubbed as A.P Disha Act, that is Andhra Pradesh Disha Act, after the name given to the women in social media campaigns and protests after the horrific crime. And this bill provides for awarding death sentence for offences of rape and gang rape and expediting trials of such cases to within 21 days. And also, this act envisages the completion of investigation in just 7 days and trial in 14 working days. And also, this act reduces the total judgment time to 21 days from the existing 4 months. The A.P Disha Act also prescribes life imprisonment for other sexual offences against children and includes section 354F and 354G in IPC. And another new section 354E is added in IPC 1860. It includes case of harassment of women through social or digital media, and the act states 2 years imprisonment for the first conviction and 4 years for second and subsequent convictions. Now let us look into some other highlights of the Disha Act. The Government of India has launched a National Registry of Sexual Offenders, and this database is not digitized and it is not available to the public also. But in the Disha Act 2019, the Andhra Pradesh government will establish and operate, and also it will maintain a register in electronic form to be called Women and Children Offenders Registry, and this registry will be made public and it will be available to all the law enforcement agencies also. And at present, provision for punishing an offender in a rape case is a fixed jail term, leading to life imprisonment or the death sentence. But the Disha Act 2019 has prescribed the death penalty for rape crimes where there is adequate conclusive evidence, and this provision is given by amending section 376 of the Indian Penal Code 1860. And if you see, in case of molestation or sexual assault on children under the POSCO Act 2012, the punishment ranges in between minimum of 3 years to maximum of 7 years of imprisonment. But in the Disha Act of 2019, apart from rape, the government of Andhra Pradesh prescribes life imprisonment for other sexual offences against children, and it has added new sections 354F and section 354G to deal with a sexual assault on children, and it is inserted in the IPC 1860. And then in the AP Disha Act 2019, the case of harassment of women through email, social media, digital mode, or any other form, maybe electronic form, any other electronic form also, and this guilty shall be punishable with the imprisonment. But right now, that is at present, there is no such provision exists in the Indian Penal Code. For this, a new section, that is 354E, harassment of women, is being added in the Indian Penal Code 1860. And under this act, the government will also establish exclusive special courts in each district to ensure speedy trial. And the state government has introduced the Andhra Pradesh Special Courts for Specified Offences Against Women and Children Act 2019. And at present, the period for disposal of appeal cases related to rape cases against women and children is 6 months. And in the Disha Act, the period for disposal of appeal cases has been reduced to 3 months. And for this, amendments are being made in the section 374 and 377 of the Code of Criminal Procedures Act 1973. Then, moving on to the next article, in the page number 12, we have Center in talks with Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh on special status. It is at a consultation stage, says official. This is a subheading. And this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of powers and finances up to the local levels and challenges therein. Before understanding the given newspaper article, let's understand what is special category status. It is a classification given by the center to assist development of states which faces geographical and social economic disadvantages. This classification was done on the recommendations of the 5th Finance Commission in 1969, and the parameters for special category status were hilly terrain, low population density and or sizable share of tribal population, then strategic location along borders with neighboring countries, and economic and infrastructure backwardness, and finally non-viable nature of state finances. As I mentioned before, the concept of special category status was first introduced in 1969 by the 5th Finance Commission, which sought to provide certain disadvantaged states with preferential treatment in the form of central assistance and tax breaks, establishing special development boards, and also reservation local government jobs and education institutions, etc. Initially, 3 states, that is Assam, Nagaland and Jammu Kashmir, were granted special status, but from 1974 to 1979, 5 more states were added under the special category, and these include Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Sikkim and Tripura. And in 1990, with the addition of Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram, the states number increased to 10, and then in 2001, the state of Uttarakhand was given special category status. But after the dissolution of the Planning Commission and the formation of Niti Aayog, the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission were accepted and also implemented, which meant the discontinuation of the Gargil formula-based grants. That is, the 14th Finance Commission effectively removed the concept of special category status after its recommendations were accepted in 2015. And let us understand who grants the special status to states. This decision to grant the special category status lies with the National Development Council, and which is composed of Prime Minister, Union Ministers, Chief Ministers and members of the S12 Planning Commission. But at presently, it is believed that no more states can be given the status of a special category state. The Constitution of India doesn't include any provision for the categorization of any state in India as a special category state. However, a wide range of provisions are available to as many as 10 states that have been listed under Articles 371 and 371A to 371H and 371J. And the main intention behind this provision is to safeguard the interest and aspirations of the certain backward regions, or to protect the cultural and economic interests of the tribal people, or to deal with the disturbed law and order in some parts of the country. Then, if you see the benefits, the central government bears the 90% of the state expenditure on all centrally sponsored schemes and external aid, while the rest 10% gives as loans to states at 0% rate of interest. And then preferential treatment in getting central funds, and also concession on excise duty will be there. And 30% of the center's gross budget also goes to the special category status. And also, states with a special category status are exempted from customs duty, corporate tax, income tax, and also many other taxes to attract the investment. And finally, the special category status have the facility that if they have unspent money in a financial year, in a particular financial year, then it doesn't lapse, and also it gets carried forward to the next year for the next financial year. And now let's understand what is the difference between special category status and special status. The Constitution provides special status through an act that has to be passed by 2/3 majority in both the houses of the parliament, and whereas special category status is granted by National Development Council, which is an administrative body of the government. For example, Jammu and Kashmir enjoyed a special status before as per the Article 370 and also special category status. But now the Article 35A has been scrapped and it has become a union territory now with a legislature. So special category status doesn't apply to Jammu and Kashmir anymore. So according to the today's newspaper article, they're saying that the Ministry of Home Affairs is holding consultations with the union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh to grant them special status on the lines of Article 371 of the Constitution. And here, don't get confused between special status and special category status. In this article, they have clearly mentioned that they are going to give the special status on the lines of Article 371 of the Constitution. That means it is special category status. And this proposal of giving special status to Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh on the lines of Article 371 of the Constitution is still at the consultation stage, and we will discuss furthermore once it is granted. Then let us discuss yesterday's prelims practice question. The first question reads, in India, in the overall index of the industrial production, the index of 8 core industries have a combined weight of 37 to 90%. Which of the following among are those 8 core industries? Options given are cement, fertilizers, natural gas, refinery products and textiles. And we know that the 8 core industries in the IAP are coal, electricity, crude oil, cement, natural gas, steel, refinery products and fertilizers. And here refinery products with a 28% carries the most weight, and fertilizers with 2.63% carries the lowest weight. So if you see in the given options, they have provided the textiles, but it is not included in the 8 core industries. So the correct answer is 1, 2, 3, 4 only. Moving on to the next question, it reads, which of the following statements about recently launched Jal Shakti Abhiyan are correct? The Jal Shakti Abhiyan will run in 2 phases. Phase 1 starts from 1st July to 15th September 2019 for all the states and union territories, and phase 2 from 1st October to 30th November 2019 for states and union territories receiving the retreating monsoon. So this is the correct statement. It runs in 2 phases. And the second statement is, renovation of tradition of water conservation methods form one of the intervention areas. Yes, this is also correct statement. And other 4 important water conservation interventions are water conservation and rainwater harvesting, reuse of water and recharging of structures, then watershed development and intensive afforestation. Then the third statement reads, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation under the Ministry of Jal Shakti is the main coordinating agency. This is also correct statement. So all the 3 given statements are correct. Answer is D, all are correct. Then moving on to the third question. It reads, the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana is a scheme of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Yes, it is the correct statement. Then the scheme provides a financial support of rupees 1600 for each LPG connection to the BPL households and interest-free loan to the purchase of a stove and refill by all marketing companies. Yes, this is also correct statement. It is given to the BPL households. And then release of LPG connection under this scheme shall be in the name of the woman belonging to the BPL family. This is also correct statement. So in this question also all the given 3 statements are correct. So the answer is D, all are correct. And today's first prelims practice question is based on Accessibility India campaign. Then the second question is based on special category status. And the third question is based on Andhra Pradesh Disha Bill 2019. And comment your answers in the comment box. I'll review it. And in the next editorial discussion, I'll discuss the answers for all these 3 questions. Thank you for watching.